Good afternoon from Berlin. It's a sunny Friday after a little bit of rain here, and I thought I would go online. And today I want to tell you a little bit about the process of creating my latest webinar. Then I want to show you the third lesson of my course, and then I'm going to stay on for a brief Q&A. Please, if you're online, just send a comment or a chat on YouTube so that I can know that you're online with me. Right, let's get going. Just yesterday, I broadcast live the 22 webinar secrets all virtual presenters should know, and I thought I would share with you what happens behind the scenes and how you create one of those webinars. It all started 5 weeks ago. 5 weeks ago, I started working on the concept. It was called 22, well, it didn't have a number. It was just lots of nuggets of wisdom. Okay, and it sort of started from there. At -4 weeks, I started working on this sequence. Let me show it to you. So I started working on the sequence that you find here on all the way to the left. And this sequence sees the biggest and most important content blocks, like interact with your audience, tell your audience what to expect, etc., etc. In this phase, it was just an outline, and I already shared it with some people to understand if there was any interest. At week -3, I started working on the text. So whatever you see here on this side is what I was working on. So I started working on different titles to begin with. So actionable tips and techniques you can immediately use for your next webinar, etc., etc. But I also had the text of what would happen during the countdown, what would happen during the introduction, and so on. Not the outline of the whole script, but I had at least an information about what the slides could be about. At that point, week -2 weeks to the webinar, I started working on slides. And in order to work on slides, I started thinking of a logo for the event. I started thinking about what kind of template of slides I was going to use. And I sort of wanted to keep on with this log, so I worked with these little key symbols, and I use a template that I've been using for a long time. This is a template I've developed with a very talented designer, Carolino, and it's been proven so successful that I'm continuing to use it till today. Then, as we were at -1 week, I had to start thinking about in terms of the production of this webinar. And in terms of production, I needed to think how many scenes I needed, how many clips there were inside the webinar in order to show some of the examples. And I also started thinking about the sound design, not just microphone and stuff, but I needed some music because at the beginning of the webinar there is a little video for pre-roll, and so I had to source this music and license it and start really thinking how to set up everything until I got to the week of the webinar. At that point, my slides were finished. It took a couple of weeks, but the slides were finished, and I was able to do a couple of tests on my own, and so to go through the whole sequence of the webinar with all the technical aspects on. And then I was lucky enough to have two very good friends that that they were interested in the content of the webinar, but they also were able to help me. And I delivered it through the final technical system. So I had them connected on YouTube. I had them interact through the platform that we were using to create the webinar. And then finally, after 2 tests by myself, 2 tests with an audience, and this audience also gave me notes that I was able to integrate, I finally got to day 0 and to deliver this webinar. So it's as easy as 0 to 5. So it's 6 weeks of work for 1 hour of production. That's what it takes. Now I want to play for you this very short video. This is lesson number 3 of my presentation course, and I will be back with you right after.
Presentation Hero Academy presents Tell Your Audience Why You're There, lesson number 3 of the 10 lessons that comprise the presentation structure module. So you told your audience who you are. You told them your name, you told them your bio. Now it's time to reveal your motivation for presenting. Why are you on stage? Make it very clear. Let me give you some examples. For instance, you could tell your audience what is your relationship and your perspective relative to the topic you are presenting. Another thing you can show them is how much you invested in the topic, how high your stakes are in the topic. Another thing that is really works a lot is to show how passionate you are about the topic. Because chances are that if you care and if you show that you care, your audience will care as well. You see, your motivation is contagious. And if you show your motivation, your audience motivation will come out and blossom automatically. Now, a different thing. At the beginning of your presentation, sign an ideal agreement with your audience. You will not need a fountain pen. You will not need a suit. But what you need to do is to reveal the structure and the timing of your presentation. So let me make an example. You could start off by saying, during this talk, I will tell you 3 stories that will last 5 minutes each. And by giving this mental map to your audience, they will know all the time exactly where you are in your presentation and when your presentation is going to end. In this format, to the right, you see the 10 lessons that make up the module. And at the bottom, you always have a timeline that tells you the progress of the video. If your audience feels in control, they relax. And when they relax, they open up and they're more available to digest your content. So motivating your audience and revealing your structure are extremely beneficial in order to make your presentation a success. So to summarize, your motivation is contagious. Show it clearly and reveal the structure and timing. It will calm and open your audience.
Thank you very much for following today's live stream. I will be online next week. We will resume the regular programming. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for watching.